My name is Samuel Michael, and this is my historical excursion, which I have planned out. And the location of this trip that I have planned out is to go to Cairo and Luxor, Egypt. Why Egypt? Egypt is a place that has always fascinated me. Since I was little, I have been interested in the great history of the ancient civilizations which lived in Egypt long ago and created structures such as the Great Pyramids. Getting the opportunity to see and explore locations and monuments such as the Great Sphinx and Valley of Kings would be a dream come true. Because of this, I decided to plan out a 14-day trip to Egypt for this assignment. Throughout this trip, you will experience various tours and expeditions one can go on in order to become fully immersed within the deep, rich history of ancient Egypt. This trip is planned for 2 people and will be a total of 14 days long. The first 8 days will be spent in Cairo, while the last 5 will be spent in Luxor. Many travel guides and articles suggested to spend at least 1 day at each major attraction, so we will do exactly that. Each day we will visit one of the main attractions on the following slides. The hotel where we will be staying is the Nile Ritz-Carlton, located in Cairo. The room we will be staying in is the Deluxe Nile View Room, which will cost a total of $1,100 for the whole time we will be there. Then we will fly from Cairo to Luxor, which will cost only $50 per person for a 1-hour nonstop flight. Then finally in Luxor, we will stay in the Sofitel Winter Palace, which will cost about $46 to $100 a night, depending on which room you stay in. Over these next couple slides, I will go over the main attractions for this trip, and we will begin with the museums. The first museum which we will visit is the Egyptian Museum located in Cairo. Now, this is a great spot to start this trip because, as it says in the name, the Egyptian Museum is just that, a museum of all kinds of stuff related to ancient Egypt. Now, this is a great spot to start because it is an older museum, you could say. I'll elaborate on that some more in a little bit, but it is a great starting point to begin this trip. Then another museum which we will go to later on in the trip is the Museum of Mummification located in Luxor. This is a smaller museum which features all of the steps and materials which was used during the mummification process. This is a great spot to get a combination of not only the history of the mummification process, but also the whole science behind it. The final museum which we will visit on this trip is the Grand Egyptian Museum. This place is pretty cool. After over 20 years of building this museum, it finally first opened up to the public last year in 2020. It is located in Cairo and is connected to the pyramids between 2-kilometer landscapes causeway. And you can see in the top right, the picture is of those landscapes connecting the pyramids to this museum. I thought that was a really cool piece they added in. Then this museum cost more than $500 million to completely assemble, build, and put together, and is the world's largest museum dedicated to a single ancient civilization. The museum contains more than 100,000 artifacts and a full display of the Tutankhamun collection, and this is actually the first time the entire Tutankhamun collection has completely been assembled together to be put on for display to the public. The 3 main monuments which we will visit during this trip are the Pyramids of Giza, the Great Sphinx, and the Valley of Kings. Now, the Pyramids of Giza are the first one which we will get to go see, and it is an amazing experience to go through here and see all this stuff. There's various different tours people can go on. Still to this day, people are arguing and debating over how the heck these things were actually made at apparently the time that we believe they were made. It is a phenomenal place to go to and witness. Then the next one will be the Great Sphinx. Now, there's a lot of tours that combine the pyramids with the Sphinx, although I felt for this trip it'd be perfect to split them up with 2 different days. As mentioned before, a lot of stuff suggested that you see each thing for its own day simply because of the amount of information there is to take in and the experience of going to each of these things. I've decided to lay this out where you do the Sphinx separate from the pyramids with going on its own tour. And this, similar to the pyramids, is still argued about and debated today because there's such a vast mystery behind why it was built, what it was built for, what's in it, what's underneath it. There's so many questions surrounding it. Then the final monument for this trip will be the Valley of Kings. Now, this is separated into various different spots and locations along the Nile. There's so many different pieces and parts to go to. For example, there's some parts where you got the tombs of the pharaohs, tombs of just other mummies they have in there. Tons of cool architecture and buildings. And as you can see in the picture on the top right, tons of cool scriptures and paintings and drawings put on the walls within these amazing buildings. And then another activity which we will take part in along this trip are boat rides along the Nile. I put two specifically right at the bottom of this page, and I put some pictures from these actual boat trips on this slide as well. You can see the one in the middle is the nighttime one. They do these boat rides every night right at sunset. An awesome view of the whole area. The desert, you can see over on the picture on the right, it's really cool seeing the desert in the background, then all the vegetation up along it, and the beautiful water you are floating on in your boat. I thought this was a really cool piece to add in for the trip because it gives you a whole nother element of the experience while visiting Egypt. Then finally, we have the itinerary, and as I said before, and I'll say it again, each thing is recommended to have its own day dedicated to. So day 1, we'll arrive in Cairo, check into our hotel. Day 2, go to the Egyptian Museum I mentioned at the start. Day 3, we'll go to the Grand Egyptian Museum, that crazy museum that took them over 20 years to build. Spend a whole day getting to go in there and explore everything. Day 4 for the pyramids of Giza. Day 5 for the Sphinx. Day 6, just take a tour of Cairo and explore the city. Day 7 for those boat rides I was talking about. And if you want to, you could also do those at any day if you have time at the end for those cool boat rides at the sunset. Then for day 8, just a chance to go explore Cairo on your own, not going out on any tour, following any destined path or something, just going out and doing whatever you want for the day. Day 9, travel over to Luxor, Egypt, and then day 10, explore Luxor, Egypt, with day 11, visiting the Museum of Mummification. You can explore all the cool stuff about the mummies, as I mentioned before. Then days 12 and 13 are dedicated to the Valley of Kings, and I had those be 2 days because, as I mentioned before, it's not just one location there. There's various different locations to go to, so I gave it 2 days so you can get fully immersed in the whole experience. Then on day 14, do whatever you want and then head home. Then on these last 2 slides here, as you can see, I simply just got my sources, but my name is Samuel Michael, and this was my trip to Egypt. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed.